Hey gang, this is Mr. OC coming at you with answers and strategies for your financial literacy quiz, or if you want to call it, your percent quiz retake. So we have 4 questions, let's jump right in. So question number 1, my second oldest nephew Danny makes $60,000 a year gross salary. Assuming his deductions are 12% federal taxes, 3% state taxes, 1% local taxes, 6% Medicare, and 6% Social Security taxes, what is his monthly net, or his monthly take-home? And I'm asking you to explain how you found your answer. Okay, one strategy was to investigate what is his monthly gross. And if I know that he makes $60,000 in a year, that means $60,000 in 12 months. Well, I want to know then, how much is that in 1 month? This is like a proportion. So I've kind of set it up as a proportion over here. If I know 60,000 is 12 months, how much is in 1 month? We have 2 different ways to solve proportion problems. One is I can do the between ratio. I know 12 divided by 12 gives me 1, so I can do 60,000 divided by 12. Or I could figure out 12 times what gives me 60,000, and then I would do 1 times whatever that is. Okay, it's essentially the same problem, but let's figure out how we would go about doing this. Here we go. I've got 12 times 1 is 12. I'm just going to use my 12 multiplication facts, the stuff that I've known since 4th grade or so. 12 times 2 is 24. It's not really helpful. 12 times 3 is 36. No, still not. 12 times 4, 48. No. 12 times 5, 60. Aha! 60. 60 seems to be a key to this problem right here. It's 60,000. So if I know 12 times 5 is 60, then I can know 12 times 50, just multiplying this by 10, is going to give me 600. Multiply this times 10. Not quite there yet. We multiply by 10 again. 12 times 500 is going to give me 6,000. But then 12 times 5,000 is going to finally give me my answer, 60,000. So now I know that in 1 month, my nephew Danny makes $5,000 gross. It doesn't tell me what he takes home for his net, but that tells me what is the first item on his paycheck. So now, let's take a look at this problem. I'll move myself over here a little bit more now. I'm kind of out of the way. A little bit more helpful. All right. I'm going to use a ratio table to solve this problem. I think that's the easiest way to do it. So up here I've got my money and the percent. I just figured out that $5,000 is what he takes, or is what he makes gross. So $5,000 is 100%. Well, then I'm going to look for easy percents. One of the easiest percents is 10%. How do I get from 100 to 10? Well, I divide by 10. So I'm going to divide this by 10 again. 5,000 divided by 10, 500. So 10% of his salary is $500. Well, I'm going to do that again. Divide by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1%, a nice easy percent to figure out. 10 divided by 10 is 1, so 500 divided by 10 is 50. So now I know 1% is $50. Well, if I know 1, easy to figure out 2. Multiply by 2. 50 times 2, 100. So 2% is $100. Well, I know 1 plus 2 is 3. So 3% is going to equal $50 plus $100, or $150. Then I also need to know 6%. If I know 3%, it's easy to get to 6%. Multiply by 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 150 times 2 is 300. The last percent I need is 12%. Well, I could do this a couple different ways. I could add 10% and 2%, or I could add 500 and 100, or I could do 6% times 2. I'll do it that way. 6 times 2 is 12, so 300 times 2 is 600. Either way, now I know what each of the percents are for all of my deductions up here. Now, I'm going to add those up. 12% was 600, 3%, 150, 1%, 50, 6%, 300, and another 6%. Some people forgot that this was 6% twice when they were solving this. All right, I'm going to add all these together. Easiest for me to add up 150 and 50 for 200. 600 plus 200, that's 800. 800 plus 300, that's 1,100. And another 300 is $1,400 total. So, I start with my gross salary, my gross. What I start with is 5,000. And then I take away my deductions, or I subtract them to figure out my net. So I have 5,000 minus 1,400. I'm going to do that a couple different ways. I'm going to break apart the subtrahend. I'm just going to do 5,000 minus 1,000, gives me 4,000. Then I'm going to take my 4,000, subtract the remaining 400, and that's going to give me 3,600. And this is my answer. This is what my nephew Danny takes home each month, $3,600. Okay, it's not the only way you could have solved this problem, but it's definitely a way that works. Another way that some students did is they figured out, aha, I know, I'm going to put myself back up in the corner, I know that if I add up all of these percents, then that totals 28, which means that all of the deductions together total 28%. So if I can figure out what 28% is, and I can subtract it. But I don't necessarily need to do it monthly. I can do it yearly as well. So let's take a look at the yearly salary. If I make, or if Danny makes $60,000 a year gross, 60,000 represents 100%. Well, let's do easy numbers again. 10%, going to divide by 10. 60,000 divided by 10 is 6,000. But I need to know 28%, so I'm going to try to find 20% this time. To get from 10 to 20, just going to multiply by 2. 6,000 times 2, 12,000. Well, I know 10 and I know 20. I bet I can know 30. 10 plus 20 is 30. 6,000 plus 12,000 is going to give me 18,000. That's going to be helpful for me, 18,000. Now I know 30%. I'm still looking for 28% though. Aha! I can figure out what 2% is if I divide 20% by 10. 20 divided by 10 is 2. So 12,000 divided by 10 is 1,200. So now I know what my 2% is. I wanted to find 28%. That was what was important to me. I know 28 is 30 minus 2. So I'm going to take this 30%, or 18,000, and I'm going to subtract this 1,200. And that's going to give me 16,800, or the deductions for the year. But these are the deductions for the year. Remember that I'm interested in monthly net. So let's take a look now at our subtraction problem that we've set up. This is my yearly gross right here, $60,000. And I'm going to take out my deductions. Once again, I'm going to do break apart here. So 60,000 minus 10,000. 60 minus 10 is 50, so 60,000 minus 10,000, 50,000. I've got a 6,000 to take care of. 50,000 minus 6,000 is going to give me 44,000. Then I have to take out this 800. So 44,000 minus 800 gives me this 43,200. Now that's my yearly take home, or my yearly net. But this is for the year. Remember that a year is 12 months. I want to know what the 1 month take home is. So what we've created now is a proportion again. So let's look at how we would solve that. I know I want to do 43,200 divided by 12. I'm going to go back to my 12's timetables to make it a little bit easier for myself here. Hope you can still see me. There we go. Get myself a little bit farther out of the way. So go to those 12's again. 12 times 1, 12. 12 times 2, 24. 12 times 3, 36. 12 times 4, 48. That doesn't seem like it's going to help me too much because this is a 43 and that's less than 48. So I'm going to deal with this 36. I'm going to go and multiply both by 10. 12 times 30 is 360. 12 times 300, 3,600. Notice I'm just multiplying by 10 again here. So then 12 times 3,000 is going to give me 36,000. Aha! 36,000 is going to help me out a lot. Got 43,200. Now I have 36,000 that I'm going to take away. Figure out how much I have left. Well, let me erase that. That was a really poor choice. In order to figure out 43,200 minus 36,000, I might want to do Yusuf, your favorite strategy of adding instead. Start at 36,000. If I add 4,000, I'll get to 40,000. Then all I need to do is add another 3,200 to get to 43,200. I take my 4,000 and my 3,200, add them together, and I get 7,200. That means if I take out 36,000, I have 7,200 left to figure out. Well, I'm going to go back to my multiplication tables. I know my 12 times 5 is 60, and 12 times 6 is 72. Aha! 72, an important number. 12 times 6 is 72, multiply by 10. 12 times 60 is 720, multiply by 10 again. 12 times 600 is 7,200. So if 36,000 plus 7,200 is my 43,200, or my big dividend, then what I multiply 12 by, 12 times 3,000, 12 times 600, 12 times 3,600 is going to give me 43,200. So my monthly take home, 3,600. Not sure which you like better. Personally, I would probably do method number 1, but either one works here. Okay. I'm going to come back at you with problem number 2 in a different video.